Welcome to another special Viking Warrior Day edition of It Takes a Viking, the official podcast of the Salem State University Alumni Association. Very pleased to welcome to the show another one of our campaign co-chairs for the Meet the Moment campaign from the class of 78, Mr. Elliot Katzman. Elliot, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great, Mike. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We are very excited to have you. Very unique situation. Nothing can be very unique, but a unique situation that you represent one half of the dynamic Katzman duo. We're also going to be talking to Donna a little bit later on today as well. So let's get right into it. Very excited to have you on the show today, Elliot. The first question we always like to ask, what brought you to Salem State? How did you end up here?
Well, before I answer, I think I should make sure that when you talk to my other half, it's also the better half.
Okay, fair enough.
So you'll be talking to the better half there, and you'll understand that probably a little bit from my answer. But when I decided to go to Salem State, it wasn't an easy decision, but it was more of a difficult decision for Salem State probably than it was for me. I grew up in Chelsea, and while I did well prior to high school, I didn't do as well in high school. I didn't take school that seriously. And my wife, Donna, then girlfriend, we began dating our senior year in high school. And she was a very good student and had applied to Salem State as her first choice. She wanted to be an education major. She knew that that's what she wanted to do. And when she heard that she got accepted and I hadn't heard yet, I was concerned. So I got in my car and I drove up to Salem and asked to speak with the Dean of Admissions. And Mrs. Simpson, I believe at the time, didn't turn me away. She said, well, since you drove here, give me a minute. She went and got my file and said, I see why you're here. Maybe you could give me an hour or so and come back and I'll see if I can, give you some feedback. So, Salem State, was nice enough, and I'm very grateful that they accepted me. And I'm proud to be an alum of Salem State. But as many of our students, if you don't do as well in high school for whatever reason, or you don't have the financial means, which we didn't have, I grew up in public housing in Chelsea. Salem State was the main, university for me at the time, college, to join. So very, very grateful to get in.
And you studied business at Salem State.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how your time here helped prepare you for life after college, kind of what you've been up to since you graduated in 78 and how the school kind of helped prepare you to take you where you needed to go.
Yeah. So, as I began my academic education there, it was a combination, as it is today, of strong liberal arts courses combined with what I believe then and certainly believe today, a rigorous business curriculum. And, I got my act together, going back to my first answer, and worked very, very hard. And I felt that every class really made a difference and prepared me for the real world afterward. I was very lucky to have some great professors who demanded excellence. There wasn't any level grading. It was, if you worked hard, you would be, and you got great grades, you did well on tests, you get a good grade. And they knew many of us had come from humble backgrounds. So they put time in beyond the classroom to give us the mentoring and the support that we needed. And then I was very, very lucky that my accounting professor, my second semester freshman year, who was a former Gillette executive, left the school to become a CFO of a company in Taunton and asked me if I wanted to intern. So I was, of course, I said yes. So I worked full-time that summer, again, living in Chelsea. And I was a commuter. I didn't live on campus. And then during the school year for the next 3 years, I would drive from Chelsea to Salem on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and on Saturdays as well. And I would go from Salem to Taunton and have that internship that really prepared me for my postgraduate experience, graduating from Salem State. It helped me differentiate myself from my peers. When I started at Deloitte with 29 other individuals from schools like Harvard and Bentley and BC, large BC contingent. I felt like I was even more prepared than they were. I had the internship plus my academic training really gave me a sense of confidence, and I think my skills were stronger than them, and it helped me get on the best audit at the time, and very important audit to the firm, and gave me visibility. And like everything, one step builds on the other, and but it all started with Salem State and the academic training, the mentorship, and the internship, of which I'm a real strong fan of. I think experiential learning is critical.
Internship specifically, something we'll get into in a little bit as we talk about kind of what brings us today together. But obviously, as someone who kind of was here in the later 70s, the campus has changed quite a bit. And I know that, they might have even, I know we've been talking about AACSB accreditation for many, many years. And but I'm just curious, what have been some of your most exciting transformations that have taken place here at Salem that you've seen over the years that you kind of look back on and go, wow, it's still my neighborhood state school that I went to, but it's growing and it's really becoming a comprehensive university. Is there anything that kind of stands out to you in your mind as you think back about the transformation that's taken place over the last several years?
I think having served as a trustee, I got a more of an inside glimpse of the university than just someone who would be distant. And the focus on the mission to educate our student body, who largely comes from minimal means, if at all, many different backgrounds, diverse ethnicity. Back then, the diversity was mostly social economic. Today, it's racial as well as social and economic. The challenges are similar, but the mission and the importance the university plays in today's society is as critical or more critical than it even was back then. The students today are, the cost of an education is much higher. I think that the cost to students today is probably on the equivalent of 10x what it was to a student for me. At the time I went to school, the state would support the university, I think, for 70% of its cost structure. Today, it's around 30%. And with the escalating salaries and all the other things to support the university, costs go up, and therefore tuition goes up, and that puts a real burden on the students. So Salem State's the only path that they have in a lot of cases to get an education, college education.
One of the things that, and obviously very grateful to you for your service on the trustees, because I think you were on that board at a very challenging time, particularly when the pandemic started, and there was no right answer or easy way to do what needed to be done. And so I want to commend you, because I don't know if I could ever put myself in that position to have to make some of those conversations and decisions that took place. And as someone who's graduated and decided, hey, I want to come back and provide my expertise in any number of ways, that was a lion's share of a lift to do at that time, especially. So very grateful to you for helping navigate this university through some very difficult time, for sure. To use the phrase, you've put your money where your mouth is, and you've invested your own time, talent, and resources into this university. And I know one passion project for you, as you mentioned, is internships, and you've been a tremendous supporter of that program through the Bertillon School of Business. But in addition to your support of the internship program, you've also been, a judge at the Viking pitch contest. And I know I've had the opportunity to work with you as we've considered some different software to use from an alumni mentoring perspective. So I'm just curious, when did you finally make the decision to say, I'm in a place where I feel like this is an institution I want to start investing in, and why was it important for you to get involved?
Yeah. I decided it was important when I graduated. So I made a commitment upon graduation, and realizing to my first, one of the earlier conversations we had during this interview, that I was really well positioned to compete, and I appreciated what Salem State had done for me. So Donna and I spoke, and I said, someday when I have that chance, I hope we can find a way to give back, but not just financially, but with our time, and hopefully make a difference to future students. Very pleased that I've had that chance to do that recently. I would say the accreditation is very significant, and we all should congratulate Dean Luther and everybody on involved in making that happen. That's many years in progress to get to that point, and it's a great accomplishment and differentiates Salem State from all of the other state universities. So I think it's the faculty commitment to make that happen is significant. And when you see that commitment, you have to find a way to support their efforts. As you mentioned, internships and experiential learning, I think is a huge differentiator for our students. I didn't have the exposure that many other students of other universities have growing up to the real world. So, you have to compete. We have to compete with those other people and those other experiences upon graduation to get that job. And we can't make up for the experiences that more affluent families might have, but we can make up and compete effectively if we have the experiences and education and the rigor of that. And I think getting internships is absolutely critical for our students. It's more than just building skills and getting some experience. It's about self-esteem and confidence. And it's immeasurable when you enter the workforce and that you're as good as the person you're working with and competing for an assignment. And Salem State provided that, and I think the internship program, which I know is developing, and there's a lot of work being done by Don White and others there. I really think it's worth backing and developing further. And I know the workforce needs a Salem State student and wants a Salem State student, so we just have to make all that happen.
Part of what brings us together for our conversation today, and I think you may have just alluded to this in what you just said, but is that you're a co-chair of our new Meet the Moment fundraising campaign. And I'm wondering if there was one kind of marquee piece about the fundraising priorities of the campaign, or if it was just something that really spoke to you in general about it that made you say, this is something that I want to be a part of, to see the next kind of generation of Salem State come to fruition. Was it that internship piece as part of student success, or was it just the idea of the campaign as a whole? What were your thoughts about wanting to get involved with this program?
Yeah, I mean, the campaign is critical overall. I mean, the university needs resources that it doesn't have. And so philanthropy is a major way to do that. And the various initiatives of the campaign are well defined, and there's support for each initiative that allows the university to speak to prospective donors in a very specific way. I think they're all very important. Endowment's important, right? You look at BOLD and the redefining the campus in a more cost-effective, unified way is critical. So all those are enablers and very important. For me, as I mentioned, I'm a true beneficiary of this internship program, and I can't say strongly enough that a Salem State student can compete with anybody. I think I and many others are proof that a person like me who came from humble background and public housing in Chelsea and Salem State can work with some of the most talented, successful, high-tech entrepreneurs in the world. And Salem State prepared me for that. I don't have another degree. I didn't go to get an MBA. I was fortunate that I had some amazing work experiences that gave me those skills, and mentors included. I want to say, I can't talk enough about mentorship, and that's another part of this campaign, is to just put in place some of those programs where mentors can help students fill those voids and gaps that they have, again, especially because of their backgrounds. But once they fill those voids, once they get their academic skills and training from Salem State, and if they can get that internship, we can compete with anybody in the world, and maybe, not just compete, but we can compete successfully and make a difference. So that belief, and the path that I've been able to experience myself, is just something I want to see other Salem State students have the opportunity to do.
And you've alluded to this a little bit in our conversation today, but I think the last question I'd like to ask, as we find ourselves in Viking Warrior Day, it's the end of another academic year. If we were to bring you back and put you in front of a class of graduating seniors, what do you think some advice would be that you would give them?
I'd want them, to first understand what I just said earlier about we can compete with anybody. I would express the fact that hard work, the journey is just beginning, and they've become academically prepared and maybe hopefully experientially prepared as much as they could as a student. But now it's up to them to go get not just a job, but build a career, and not to look at things as jobs, but look at them as pieces of opportunities to build the long-term skills they will need as they become more senior and experienced. So up until now, they have had to pay for an education. For the next 10 years, they can get paid to continue to get educated if they find the right opportunities to build skills and the right mentors in those companies. So my big advice would be, look at two companies. One's going to pay you a little bit more, but you're not going to get the skills or the mentorship. Another opportunity could be less pay, and you're going to get those skills. I would go with and focus on building skills, finding a mentor, being a mentor, and not waver from that. I didn't get into it today, but throughout my career, I've had to make some decisions on career moves, and in one particular case, took a significant pay cut to get an opportunity to build skills that have put me in a position to do things that I'm doing today that I otherwise would not have had a chance to do. So I would emphasize, you get a chance to get paid, find a mentor, find the job and the leader that's going to help you be successful. And if somebody wants you to be successful, you'll likely be successful, and don't just look at it as a job.
I think that's great advice, especially now as you consider the kind of the transient nature of employment in some places in this country, is that investing in yourself is critically important. And as you said, it may not always be in places that you might always think. So taking the opportunity that may look like it needs a little bit of polish to get you to where you got to go.
Absolutely.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Well, Elliot, incredibly grateful to you today for your time. It's Viking Warrior Day. Tremendously grateful to you for your time, for your continued support of the institution, both in the business school, on the campaign, through your work on the trustees. You've been an incredible advocate for the institution, and we're very grateful to you for that. So again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Stay tuned for more great content throughout the day here on social media and online. This has been another terrific episode of It Takes a Viking, the official podcast of the Salem State University Alumni Association, with Meet the Moment campaign co-chair Elliot Katzman. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll have more great interviews coming up throughout the day, so stay tuned. Until next time, I'm Mike Mitchell, Associate Director. Thanks for watching.